Welcome to the Real Talk podcast. Right guys, welcome to episode 7 of the Real Talk with ECO podcast. Today, we're very fortunate enough to be joined by Bellator fighter and Sunderland native, Pacino Ellenor. Cal, how are you doing? You all right?
Doing awesome, Phil, mate. Thanks for getting us on board. How are you?
Mate, I'm good, and I'm really excited to have a proper chat today. I know we met earlier in the week when he came into the office and had a look around, but this is a chance for us to kind of have a proper talk and maybe nerd out and just talk about you and, you know, just talk about sort of your story, really, because I think a lot of people who follow you will be aware that you're a fiercely proud, and I don't know if I'm allowed to use the word, but you're a fiercely proud Mackem. You're a fiercely proud Sunderland born and bred guy. So I guess the first question before we get into the whole MMA in your career thing is, what is it about Sunderland that just gets you out of bed in the morning and makes you sort of proud to be from that city?
Just the working class mentality, really, isn't it? I mean, everyone from here is kind of the same. We've all kind of had pretty much the same upbringing, and everyone's pretty much had an out growing up. So
yeah. I think whether you're north or south, you know, I think everyone sort of north of like York or Sheffield, you know, those type of areas can empathise with that kind of northern working class mentality, like.
Yeah, that's it exactly, man. I mean, everyone's in the same boat, really, aren't they?
Yeah,
and that's it. That's. I mean, I train in pretty much in Sunderland all the time. I mean, I'm out running on the roads in Sunderland all the time, and I don't know. I'm just proud to be from here. You know what I mean? I've spent my whole life here, and I love the people. I love the place, and that's what just motivates me. You know, I want to just push as far as I can and try and be someone that and open some doors for younger kids coming up who's maybe in the same boat as I was growing up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of just create opportunities just by doing what I've been gifted in me skill sets in fighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not really going to school and stuff like that, and just using sports is what I had, and so that's kind of why I'm motivated for the way I am.
I mean, you mentioned the other day sort of a little bit about sort of schooling in early days, and like, would you say that you kind of fell into that group as far as like teachers and that were concerned, where they thought, he's not going to amount to anything, he's a daydreamer, he's a waster? Like,
I was the epitome of that. I was that kid. I was if I wasn't kicked out of school, I was off doing whatever I was doing. You know, I hated being there. I couldn't deal with the restraints of being in there all the time and having to be told what to do. And I started boxing from a very young age, and that's kind of where I kind of wanted to be. You know, I just didn't really want to be there. I wanted to be training or doing my own thing. And in school, I struggled with it all. You know, I was I don't know if it's my attention span or what. I mean, like, that's why I love training so much, because when I'm in the gym, 100% of the time I'm there, or if I'm running, I'm fully focused on what I'm doing. And it's probably the only thing in the world that I can do that and be fully focused on that one thing, whereas anything else, I'm just, as soon as I started, my mind's drifted off to someone else. I mean, half the time when I'm in a conversation with someone, my mind's taking over and I'm thinking about some rats fighting. All I think about, and it's what keeps me head right, like, and it's kind of why I love it so much.
So do you think the sort of in school, do you think the failure, the sort of, I'd not say failure because it worked out for you in the end, but do you think the inability to focus on the academic stuff, do you think that is sort of reinforced your decision to kind of go into boxing at the time, but obviously later on MMA? Do you think it was like, because I think some people in school, if they don't do well, they're going to have to channel that energy into something, whether it's going down the really wrong path or whether it's, you know, into physical sport or something like that. Do you think that sort of inability in school to focus on the academic stuff just really rammed home how much you wanted to do boxing and to be a fighter?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, obviously for me, I dealt with so much in my personal life the whole time growing up as a kid that I just kind of training was like an escape, and and as I see it, it just can't like completely taking over my mind when I'm in the gym or when I'm sparring. It's like I'm not there. It's the same as a fight, when I'm fighting, it's not like I'm in a fight. It's like it's like a daydream. It's weird, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I've had 40 odd fights now, and every time it's the same. It's like I'm not there. It's like just a daydream, and it's mint, and it completely takes over your mind, and that's why I love it. It's just really pure. It's like the same as when I'm training. That's all I think about, and obviously when you're in school and stuff like that, it was just like that's just all I'm thinking about all day is my own personal issues and personal
yeah,
stuff like that. So I kind of see, yeah, definitely. I mean, I never had when I was leaving school and stuff like that, when I was boxing and eventually starting MMA, it was never in my mind that it was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do for a career. It was just like, this is what I'm going to do because
yeah,
I love it, and it's just something that was just my life. You know what I mean? So I didn't
yeah,
really ever think of it like that, and then I don't know, it just kind of all fell into place really, and just kept us being good, kept us being
yeah,
like a decent person. I mean, there's
yeah,
definitely other routes I could have went down, like other people did who, I mean, I know loads of lads who kind of went the other way, who was kind of in the same boat as me in school, and they're on a certain path now, completely different to mine. And whereas like, I always feel like boxing and then starting MMA kind of taught us like good morals and right and
yeah,
respect. You know what I mean? So I was never like that kind of. I was never a dickhead. I was always just a daft lad, and I always just loved to mess about because I was just young and daft really, and just
yeah.
never really to listen to the rules very much. Like
Ah,
I was a bit of a nightmare in that sense. Like so, fighting with some of them kind of worked for us.
yeah. So, at what point did it become clear that, hang on a minute, like this could be a career for me? Like, at what age and what sort of stage did that happen?
It was weird. I turned professional when I was 20 year old, and I trained my whole life from being like pretty much 12 till I was 20. Really, I mean, I rarely had any gaps in between that off, and then
Yeah,
I kind of took a little bit of time away from after I had my first pro fight. I took a little bit of time away, and I don't know. I was just dealing with a lot of personal stuff and took time out. And then when I went back and I was I just went back for fitness. At first, I wasn't. I had no intentions of actually fighting again when I went back. I just wanted
yeah,
to go back for fun, and I love grappling. Like I love all aspects of MMA, but for me, grappling's the thing that I love most. I wish I could do it every hour of the day, like
yeah,
forever.
yeah, yeah,
But and that was it. I went back and I was just training with lads. I was keeping myself fit, and I was training with lads who'd been training the whole time, who had fights coming up, and I was like, well, I was doing all right, and I was saying like, oh well, I've had nearly 4 years out, and I'm doing what I'm doing now after hardly doing anything. So if I can do this now, what would I be like if I was fully back active, And
yeah, yeah,
I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it another go. And then that was kind of, I had one fight, and then I fought a really good guy the fight after that first one back, and I won. And my coach, Ellis Youngle, my grappling coach, had actually competed against this guy twice. He was a
right,
really good high level grappler, and I grappled against that guy, and I won, and so that was just another little confidence boost. And I was like, you know what, like I do believe in myself, and I'm beating people like this after I've had that kind of layoff. Like if I really dedicate myself, how far can I actually take it? And
yeah,
that was when I was kind of the light bulb when I was like, you know what, I am ready to give this 100%. And then I fought for ACB after that, a big Russian show, and I won on that. And then went out to South Africa, and I was fighting out there and fighting some like got a really good guys, high level guys out there, and then that's what ended up getting assigned to Bellator, and then
yeah,
and it just all fell from there, and then that is it. Like now, it's just like I mean, I just say like I do see it as my career. I'm completely different with my training now. I'm more sensible, and I have really dedicated myself to it, and it's
yeah.
probably the best decision I made. I was leaving work and training full time.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention leaving work because I've that was the next point I was going to go on. It was obviously in amongst all of this, in the midst of the boxing and then turning pro and then having all these sort of these fights early on, you still
Mm-hmm.
actually held down a normal job. You said you worked in a supermarket Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You've worked at Nissan, and then you've also, which I found really interesting, you've actually worked for the Northeast Autism Society as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like how did you manage to juggle all of that with all of that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the training and the working and the paying bills, and like it sounds like a challenge and a half. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's been a nightmare to be honest. If I be truthfully honest, I mean, when I was it was when I fought. I was actually fighting for world title in South Africa, and I
Nice.
was I was working Friday night shift, so I was training all week, and then Friday would come, and then I'd train Friday, then I'd work the night shift, finish the night shift at like 8, 9 o'clock Saturday morning, come home. I'd have like an hour or two sleep, literally. Where I should be sleeping all day. I'd have like an hour or two sleep. Then I'd be out all day. Then I wouldn't sleep on the night. Then I'd train. Then I'd work again the Saturday night, finish it at the same time the Sunday morning. Then I'd do night shift again. And I'd get maybe a couple hours max sleep. So the Saturday morning, couple hours sleep, Sunday morning, couple hours sleep. I'd do the night shift the Sunday night, finish Monday morning. And I would drive straight from the night shift all the way from Newcastle, Tesco's in right next to the gate, all the way through to see him and wrestle on the morning,
Oh
do like
God.
I was there. I would wrestle and then I'd come home. I mean, didn't get us wrong. I mean, half the time I fell asleep on the road. You know what I mean? There's plenty of time. I remember next to East Bolton, the roundabout there, I was off the road in the grass and everything, and in the car. You
Jesus.
know what I mean? It was just mental, and it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to end up killing me. I kind of keep doing this. It was running my body into the ground. I had the fight, fought there, and then that was it. I kind of left there, and then I got some decent sponsors on board, like some people who were willing to kind of help us a bit financially, and that's what
Yeah.
really helped us, because at the time I was like, well, I believe in my ability, and I do
Yeah.
believe that I can hang with the likes of the top guys in any organization. I truly believe that I can, and it was just for me. It was like, well, I need to be able to kind of dedicate myself full time to be able to get onto that level, you know. So that's
Yeah.
why I was like, I'm just going to try and do it and try and make ends meet. I mean, I've been like beyond skint, you know what I mean, trying to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
happen. And I have had massive struggles. I mean, there's been times when obviously when we've been missed bills and everything like that, and been driving an absolute shit of a car and just looking like an absolute tramp, you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
just like, it's just all part of it. Like I just knew that it would pay off, and it has, you know. And ever since then, it's been. I mean, even when I've lost, I mean, I'm still in a really good position, and it's just off the way I've kind of
Yeah.
put my mind to it and just kind of worked hard to put myself on this pedestal, really, and just try and put myself on this level where I believe I'm at now. And
Yeah.
even in a loss there, as I say, and I lost a couple of weekends ago, I'm back now, and I'm still in a kind of high place in rankings wise, and it's like it's a fight early 2021, and if I get a good name there and get a good win, I'll be right back in the mix, you know. So I'll hopefully get the toughest fight available and the biggest name available. I mean, as I always say, there's not a person who I'll say no to. So hopefully I can get a high level name, and someone who's really highly regarded, and get a good win then, and put us right back in the mix for being
Yeah.
in contention to win to fight for the belt, you know. So we'll see
I
what
think
happens.
I think that was one of the things I'd watched a few videos and interviews that you'd already done online. You'd
Mhm.
said something along the lines of you always want to fight the big names, even when you weren't being offered them. You still
Mhm.
envisaged yourself fighting those big fighters. Do you think that sort of setting yourself those goals of always wanting to pit yourself against the best people, best fighters? Do you think that kind of helps you constantly want to improve and stay grounded as you go?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I've always kind of believed I could get these kind of fights and win them, but it's just you've got to get yourself kind of up there to get them. And I
Yeah,
just think obviously in the past, you know, when I've not had the kind of when I've not been as known, and it's hard to get these fights, because obviously the bigger names don't want to chance a fight against someone who's kind of not as highly ranked as them, because then it's nothing to gain from them. But I believe now that
yeah,
I've kind of finally got myself up there, the bigger names will come. And it's just I do believe that. I think what you're saying is right. I mean, I just I put a lot of pressure on myself anyway, regardless of who I was fighting. I kind of always just I want to be the best. So, and I always say, like, you've got to beat the best to be the best, and so that's why I
yeah,
kind of always I always ask for the toughest fights. You know, anytime I message Bellator or whatever, I always say, like, or if they put a post on about somebody, I'm always messaging saying, look, I'll fight that guy, and or give us that fight if there's no match there. I would fight that
yeah,
guy. Or in interviews, if anyone's ever said a name who I believe is like a really bad matchup or a tough stylistic fight for me, I would still see it for sure. Like, I'll fight them, because, as I said before, it's like I see MMA as a journey, and people worry, and there's a lot of people who take certain fights that work for them stylistically. I mean, like,
yeah,
skill set wise, you know, certain people might not fight a certain style because it might not it might kind of contradict their style or whatever. But I'm not bothered about any of that. I just want to test myself and
Yeah.
and work out the puzzle. You know, every fight I see is a puzzle, and I just kind of want to see how far I can take it, even win or lose. I want to fight the best people. So when it's all said and done, I can say I really truly give it 100% and fully believed in myself all the way. Even after I lost, like, I'm more hungry than ever now. And even though I lost there, I've came out of that more confident than I went in, because I know for a fact if I can get that fight back, I truly believe I can win it. So it's just one of them things. It's just motivating yourself and just believing in yourself, really.
So I think, and again, we spoke about this the other day. That mindset, whether you call it a positive mental attitude, whether you call it a winning mindset, whatever it is, maintaining that level of positivity and that drive can really help you get over whether it's a loss, whether it's a bad day, whether it's a bad sparring session or a grappling. Do you know what I mean? Like, would you say that like you've had to spend time working on that, or was that already there? Has that always been there?
I think it's something that came from just hard work, putting myself in uncomfortable situations. I feel like the more uncomfortable situations you put yourself in, the more comfortable you get when them situations arise. And I feel like it's just obviously dealing with losses in my career and in my life. That's kind of just, it either makes you or breaks you, as I said before. And I think that's what's kind of give us this mentality. I take inspiration from certain athletes and fighters and stuff like that, and like I see how they deal with it. There's always one who always stuck in my mind, and it's always Michael Bisping. He come from the UK. He wasn't the strongest guy. He wasn't the heaviest hitter. He wasn't the best wrestler. He wasn't the best grappler, but he was a hard worker, and he never gave up. And look where it got him in the end. Everything came together at the right time for him. He took the short notice fight against Rockwold and won the world title in the UFC, and made millions for his family. You know what I mean? And now he's you know what I mean? He's a legend, and he'll be a legend, and he'll be remembered forever. And I just think, like, look at some of the losses he's had. Like, people said years ago he was done when Hendo knocked him out, and it's still to this day the most savage knockout in the UFC history. And to come back from a loss like that, and then especially to further down the line beat him after a loss like that, I just think, like, people should really take things from people like that and see how they deal with it. And that, to me, I see things like that, and I take it on board myself. And I just think, like, you just gotta. It's rough with the smooth, and especially in a game like MMA, it's like it's unforgiving, and sometimes it doesn't work out. You can prepare as good as you want, and you could be the better fighter or whatever. And sometimes on the night, it's just not your night, and it's not like boxing, mate. And sometimes fight 40 cans and be 40, and look like you're $1 million. You know what I mean? It's like MMA. If you are truly testing yourself, then you will have little slip ups on the way. There's Khabib's probably the only person who. And he's an anomaly, you know what I mean? And even still, I think if he was to come back, he will lose eventually, So it's one of them things. It's just taking inspiration from people who have been there and done it. And like, I look at certain people like say for instance, me coach Fisher. He's had plenty of losses on the way up, but he's still world class. My grappling coach Alice Younger, he competes all the time, and he wins a lot, but sometimes he gets caught as well, and it's a journey, and it's about learning and growing as an athlete. And I feel like that's kind of why my mindset's the way it is. And I just think, like, obviously a lot of the time when I get these trolls and stuff saying like messaging is and putting it down, it's just one of them things. It's just like at the end of the day, like the saying these things because they look at the position I'm in and could maybe be a bit envious or whatever. I mean, like, I seen Christian Bale said something the other day, and it was like, you'll never be criticised by someone who's doing more than you. You'll only be criticised by someone who's doing less. And I thought that was an amazing thing, and it puts it's a nail on the head. Like, it's right, you only get shit off these trolls because you're putting yourself on that platform and trying to be someone. I mean, no one wants to lose. It's embarrassing, you putting yourself on the line, you can get knocked out, choked out, stuff like that. I'm putting myself on that. I'm putting myself on the line for this to it could happen, you know what I mean? But it's part of the game, and that's why I love it, and that's why there's nothing that can compare to the feeling of warming up and walking out there to have a fight with another trained athlete, you know what I mean? It's crazy, and every time it's just a dream, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think you said something to me the other day, which I think I was expecting you to say that I'll give it a bit of context. Me and Nathan were talking about how you deal with a loss, and I was expecting you to say, "Oh well, I took a few days out and I sort of got my head around it." But your response was, "Well, I just got in the gym the next morning and started again." Like that in my mind, like that is like the top level of sort of there's that sort of positive mindset in that you just thought, well, I've lost. Okay, it's happened. It's in the past. I can do nothing about it now. Let's just crack on and we'll go again.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it for sure.
have you always had that again, or is that something you've learned over the years?
I think it's something I've learned over the years. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I was kind of touched on it the other day. I lost a fight that really meant a lot to us back in the day, and it's something that when you're a young boxer, it's something that all the young boxers want to win, and I got myself to the junior year final, and it was the best of the best, and I'd really worked so hard to get there, and I put my whole life in it. And in my head, there was no other thing that was happening but me winning them the final, and I killed myself, and I lost. I lost a close fight. They were a good kid who'd had much more than double fights I'd had, and I was still really a novice, really considering how little fights I'd had to get to the final of that, and I boxed a really good kid, and a funny thing was though, I'd actually beat the kid in the semi-final, so it actually stopped the guy who beat us in the final. But it's just the way it works sometimes, and it styles make fighting. And I lost that, and I remember sitting in the changing room after I was 16-year-old or whatever I was, and I was hysterically crying, like just unbelievably crying, because people taught us I couldn't talk to them, and it proper bashed me plug in for weeks, and I couldn't. It was kind of like it was like depression, really. I mean, I couldn't think of anything. Going to the gym was the last thing I wanted to do, and eventually, obviously, I did go back and I fought again, and just got on with it. And I think like experiencing stuff like that from a young age is kind of what like prepared us for later on. Now, you know what I mean? Like I lost that one then on that fight in Italy, and I literally the same night I was just like, well, I was over it. You know what I mean? It was done. It was the thing I took from it was I was so happy to finally be back in and had another fight under me belt, even though it was a loss, because of the past year and a half that I'd had of all the stuff about nearly losing my career and losing my mum, and so it was just so good to be back. And I wasn't even bothered. I mean, obviously I was like pissed off about my performance and upset that I'd been caught in something that I don't believe I should have been caught in, but it happens, it's part of the game. And so I wasn't even bothered. I was just like, right, it's on to the next one now. And I think that is just instilled in us just from dealing with stuff like that from a young age and taking losses front on as a kid. I mean, obviously when you're boxing, I know you've got a team, but like obviously you're in the fight by yourself, and if you win, it's on you, and if you lose, it's on you. So I think that's really helped us, like just dealing with that from a young age, and then obviously brought us to where I am now. I mean, I've had 41 fights now, and just looking forward to getting back in again.
Yeah. So obviously now you're signed with Bellator. What's the next step? I mean, have you got any more fights lined up with them, or are you what's the plan?
I've got more fights with Bellator, so I think what they're looking to do is they haven't confirmed anything yet, but they're saying early 2021. So see what they give us there. I mean, I know there was talks of us fighting in America next, but obviously I don't know what's going to happen visa wise now, because obviously all this Corona stuff's kicked off. Because when I last heard, that was just before the first like blow up of the whole thing was. So I'm not sure, but as I say, I mean, fighting in America's a dream of mine, so I'd love to do that. And if that's a option, I'll definitely take that against anyone. I'd just be happy to do it. And if it's Europe, fighting anywhere in Europe, it's cool as well. It just gets us back in the team. It just means I have a bit of a lesser Christmas, really.
I think when most people mention MMA, the first thing to think of is UFC. Is that a sort of a pathway that you see yourself going, or because I mean, I'll hold behind. I don't know a huge amount about Bellator and UFC beyond what you see in the news and sort of on social media. Is that a sort of a regular pathway that fighters will go from Bellator to UFC, or?
It's kind of like it's kind of one or the other, really. I mean, like people always think the UFC as being like the biggest and the main organization. It's the most well promoted organization, but for sure you can still fight some of the best people in the world in Bellator just the same way as you can if you go to PFL, Premier Fight League, ACA, big Russian show. There's tons of ONE FC in Japan, the Rising. There's so many organizations, and it's just like other leagues, like same as football. I mean, basically, if you look at the UFC, they're kind of like Premier League, you know what I mean? But there's tons of other organizations, and people always said, "Oh, the best fighters are with the UFC," and there's some of the world's best fighters are with the UFC, but there's also some of the world's best fighters elsewhere as well. I mean, if you look at Bellator, I mean, Eddie Alvarez left Bellator. He was their champion, and I don't know if he lost, and then he was out of contract, and he went to the UFC, and he ended up winning the UFC title. Same as Mike Chandler. Mike Chandler was Bellator champion. He got knocked out by Pitbull. Then he came back and won another fight, and the UFC's just signed him, and they put him in as the alternate for Justin Gaethje and Khabib. So if one of them got injured, he was going to be the guy fighting. So it just shows you how highly rated the Bellator guys are. I mean, there's some of the best, especially in my weight division. Some of the best fighters on the planet. I feel like the likes of Juan Archuleta and people like that. I feel like they could beat any of the top bantamweights in the UFC as well. It's just it's on the night, isn't it? So it's definitely a great organization to be fighting for, and it definitely gives us massive opportunities. And this is where I'm happy to stay in my career. If they're happy to keep me on with them, I'm happy to stay here. I mean, I get treated nice, I get paid properly, and it's as I say, I get good opportunities. I mean, the amount of times they've took us to Dublin and places like that. I mean, they flew us out to New York to do a press conference on Times Square, and I was there with some of the biggest names in MMA history. I mean, it was that for me. I was like getting my gig on. You know what I mean? I was there with Fedor Emelianenko, and he's a legend of the sport. If you've never seen Fedor fight, The Last Emperor, you should check him out. He forever will be one of the biggest names. He's the baddest man on the planet. On one time, it was him and Mike Tyson. If you watch Fedor back in the Pride days, he was murdering people. He was there. There was Mike Chandler was there. There was Douglas Lima, Gegard Mousasi. Some huge names in MMA were all there, and I got to spend a bit of time with them and do a press conference with them on Times Square. And it's just like no one else is getting these opportunities. You know what I mean? I'm super lucky, and that's why I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to stay. If I'm signing a new deal now, say it was 4 or 5 fights or whatever, and have them if they want to re-sign us, I'd happily stay there because I enjoy being under their roster.
Yeah. So obviously going from the start of the conversation talking about working class Sunderland to then doing a press conference in New York City, do you think it's the being from Sunderland and being working class that keeps you grounded in situations like that?
No, 100%. Like, to me, I was there, and it was like it was just one of them things. It was super cool, but as I say, as soon as I come back home, it was just the same old thing. You know what I mean? It was like I was like out in South Africa. It was the same thing there. I was out in South Africa, walking along the street. There's kids coming up there asking for photos, asking for autographs, asking you to sign them stuff and stuff like that. And then I come home and then somebody shouting at us in Tesco and telling us to freaking pick a tin of beans up or something. You know what I mean? So I'm just, that's one of them things. I just take it with a pinch of salt. I mean, it's cool, but I never really think too much into it. I've just main evented on Channel 5 then, probably one of the biggest shows in Europe this year for sure, and it is what it is. I fought and I just didn't feel any different after. I mean, even if I'd have won, I would have felt exactly the same. I'm just the same old dude, you know what I mean? I just want to go home and chill with my mates and train and just do me regular stuff and chill with the kids. I'm not really. I think you're right. I do think that's probably why I'm as grounded as I am, and I just get on with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was that like? I mean, I know obviously this whole COVID thing's kind of impacted everyone, but what was that like being the main event on Channel 5 and then being in a? I mean, was the arena empty? Was it?
Yeah, it was mad. It was like just another day in the gym. Really, it felt like it was like a sparring session. It was weird. To have all this precautions in place. Like, as I say, like we normally fight day, you're in the venue, you're nervous, you're walking around, everyone's got this whole nervous energy, you get loads of people who's like really edgy, and it's like it's not really a nice place to be, it's just a weird tension, and everyone's nervous in the fight, and everyone's kind of acting the goat and giving it the big one, and I just like to chill out. I like to just I like to just get in my own little world before fighting. It's weird, whereas that one there, I was main event, so I was the last one picked up from the hotel. And they literally just came to the hotel in a minibus for us at 10:15 at night, picked us up, drove us to the venue. I walked out the van into the changing room, got my hands wrapped, warmed up. While this was happening, team came in, grabbed all my stuff and put it back in the minibus. I walked out, fought to an empty arena. I mean, there's a couple of guys there, camera crew and a couple of doctors, but it's an empty arena, really. Left the fight straight into the medical room, told them I was fine, straight in the minibus and straight back to the hotel, all like in and out, crazy. Just like, it just wasn't really like, it didn't feel like a fight at all, even, you know what I mean? It was weird. It was a good experience. It was good. I enjoyed the process. It was different. And obviously it's just another learning curve, isn't it? It's just cool that I got there.
Going from obviously fighting in full arenas and full venues where you've got sort of the adrenaline of fans screaming and shouting and cheering you on or booing you or whatever, to then literally hearing every slam onto the canvas and every sort of breath and like was that sort of like in a way quite trippy for you to hear that?
It was weird. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because normally it's like tunnel vision, whereas with there I was kind of a lot more present in the moment. So when I was talking to my opponent across the cage, it was real. You know what I mean? Whereas normally it's like it's kind of like a daydream. You know, it's mad. Whereas that there I was like fully in the moment, so it was fun, and I would feel the kind of the tension and stuff. It was a mad experience. But as I say, I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it. I mean, obviously it was so many people in this situation now with the lockdown and stuff like that, and coronavirus. If people have lost their businesses, people are really struggling, and I got a chance to do what I love to do, and I love to compete. You know, in front of the world on telly is stuff you dream about when you're a kid growing up, and I got to do that and got paid well, and it means that now I'm in a position now where my family's not struggling while a lot of the people in the world are not as fortunate. You know, so I'm super blessed that I got that chance. And as I say, even in the loss, that's it. You know, you look at the outside factors, and I got to do what I love, and I got paid well for it, and I'm not injured, and I'm straight back in, and I made money when a lot of the world's struggling. So as I say, it was I'm really lucky that I got that opportunity.
And is that the kind of upbringing that you've had, like to be grateful for things or have you kind of got your head around that yourself as you're getting older?
Yeah, I feel like I've always kind of been grateful for stuff. You know, I mean, I've had like my mum and dad brought us up properly. You know, I mean, obviously my mum was disabled. My mum had MS since before I was born, and obviously caring for my mum and stuff like that. Kind of always just kind of put that head on my shoulders. You know what I mean? I kind of always had it switched on, and I've always been like kind of grateful for anything I've got or any opportunities. You know, I am that kind of person. I am conscious of things like that. So it's something I think I've always had from being a young kid. Like,
yeah, and do you think sort of? I mean, I know it's still fairly recent, but obviously what happened to your mum was horrible. But do you think that has knocked you on another level to sort of like, right, I'm not just doing this for me, and I'm not just doing this for Sunderland, I'm doing this for my mum, and you've got a little bit extra to sort of to kick on and motivate you, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's when I'm having a day when I'm fit. Obviously, I'm lethargic. I'm really low on calories, and I'm pushing myself hard. So every day I'm not recovering properly, and I'm sore, and I've had a bad day in the gym. I just think, like, what am I being a little bitch for? When realistically, like, there's so many people who's having it much worse than me now. I mean, at the end of the day, like, fighting's fun, you know. Like, you can see whatever you want. Like, for outside people looking in and think, oh, these people must be crazy, you know, and doing that themselves. But it's like literally, it's like at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying something, don't do it. And fighting should be fun. I mean, you do it because you enjoy it, and if you're not enjoying it, then you should get out of it. You know what I mean? And so fighting. So when I have a day like that, I just think, you know what? I'm so fortunate that this is what I'm whinging about, rather than somebody who's got a disability or somebody who's freaking kids sick or something. You know what I mean? So that, to me, I'm just like, you know what? Like, fighting's easy. It is so easy, and it's supposed to be fun, and that's what it is. It's essentially the easiest job in the world, really. I mean, obviously it's hard. You're pushing yourself and stuff like that, and dealing with anxiety and the kind of pressure you put on yourself, and the pressure of having to fight someone in front of a crowd and that. But at the end of the day, it's fun, and there's so many people worse off, and or in jobs that they hate. You know, even that motivates us. You know, like, I'm fortunate to do something that I enjoy doing. I get to go to the gym on a morning and see people, like-minded people and we have a laugh and we're training, we're all on the same mission, and that's fun. So I'm super blessed to have that as well. So that's kind of what motivates us as well. I want to have this life, and I want to have a legacy, and I want to show people that it's not just a daydream. Like, if you truly believe in what you can do, regardless of where you're from, like if you're from Sunderland or whatever, and you don't think there's a way to do it, there is, and it's the proof's in the pudding. You just got to work hard and open doors for yourself, take chances, and that's what I believe I've done. I fought Nathan Grayson when I pretty much had one arm. My arm was ruined, and I fought him. He's an absolute knockout merchant. And look at the beating I had to get through to win that fight, and look what it did for me. That set us up massively, and that was just by taking a chance. He was #1 in Europe at the time. He was Cage Warriors world champion, and he was knocking kids out left, right, and centre. And I took that fight as an opportunity, and I won, and that lined us up for that last fight that I had there. And it's just all about taking chances and believing in yourself, and that's why I want to create a legacy for myself, not just for my family, but just to, as I said earlier, just to create openings for other kids from where I'm from to come through and see there is a pathway to doing something if you're in sport, or if you're in MMA more specifically, to see there's an opportunity to make something of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying about the taking, well, not so much taking, but creating opportunities for yourself. I think there's a lot of people, and I didn't have a bad childhood, but I grew up with kids who did, and I think a lot of people will be quick to jump and say that I was never given the opportunity, or because of this, or because of my upbringing, I never had that, or whatever. Like, that ability to go, well, actually, do you know what it is? In 2020, we have that much available to us, whether it's social media, the internet, whether it's help from support from other people, to create your own opportunities. Like, as you say, like, I mean, I think was it Michael Jordan who said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Yeah, exactly. That's like, it's a true thing. I love that quote. It's amazing.
Do you know what I mean?
So right.
Like, I think if you, when at that moment, whenever that was, when you were younger, somebody said to you, like, you can't do this because of where you come from. Like, at that point, I think people would either go one of two ways. They'd either buy it and go, oh, well, okay, that must be true. I'm from Sunderland. I'm never going to amount to anything. Let's just get a job at Nissan, like everyone else does. Or I'm going to just really go for it and not listen to you and not listen to anyone and block out all of the negativity and just go for it hook, line, and sinker. Like, if you were to give advice to any kids coming up, do you think that would be it, or would you say something else to them?
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, the advice I would give is, if you truly believe that you can make something happen, regardless of what people say, then I think you should do it. And even if people are telling you not, and the thing what you will find as well is the people closest to you are usually the ones who try and swerve you against what you believe in the most. I mean, there's people really close to me who I know for a fact when I was talking about leaving work and stuff like that, were completely against it and thought of us a certain way and put me in a certain light, and probably thought I was irresponsible because I had my daughter at the time and stuff like that, and I did put our family in a really bad place. I it was selfish, and it did put us in a really bad place financially, and it caused a lot of problems for us. But like, I just truly believed that I could do it, and that was selfishly, that was what I had my mindset on, and I just thought, well, a few years of struggle now will not be ideal at all, and it will be horrible, and we've had some horrible fights over it, but at the end it has kind of paid off. I mean, I'm on the brink of buying us our first house. I mean, we've rented for a long time now, and we're through fighting for Bellator. I'm in a position I'm about to buy my first house, and things are looking all right for us, and it's just like, and it's just, it is good to see, and it's sometimes I look back and I think, you know what, like, taking them chances and just believing in myself is what's brought us here. And it's kind of like law of attraction, I've always believed, and even from being a kid, in my head, I don't know, some people could think I was delusional or what, but I see people's fights, and that's all I do. I like to study. And as I said earlier, I'm not an academic, but with something I'm involved in and something I like, I will break it down. And I do believe I've got a good mind for it and a good eye. And I look at these fights, and then I look at these top guys, and I've always thought, even since I was a kid, I've always thought, like, I could break down that style and beat that person. And I still think now,
Yeah.
even just having that mindset is what's creating more opportunities for us. I mean, even in that loss there, I lost there, and if I get a good name next in it, one good win, I always just think you won one or two good wins away from completely changing your stars,
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially. You know what I mean? In any sport, you only,
Yeah.
if you take a chance. I mean, there's look throughout history. Look at Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. Look at the likes of that.
Yeah.
You're one opportunity away from changing your whole stars. So that, for me, that's all it
Yeah.
takes. And especially in the fighting game, you one horse in a 2-horse race, really. You know what I mean? You've got anybody's
Yeah.
chance. So it's just like, why not believe in yourself, and why not just apply yourself and take a chance? And if that's, as you said earlier about school kids coming up, if that's what they think they're gonna excel in, and that's what they're gonna do good in, then why not give it your
Yeah.
best shot? Because at the end of the day, there's everyone's different for a reason, and not everyone is gonna.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you get told that you need to do a certain kind of routine and structure, that it's impossible for that to work for everyone. So if everyone's told you need to
Yeah.
do this in school, you need to do this to succeed in life, you need to do this, then the proof's in the pudding. Not everybody's built the same, so not everyone's going to get the same results from it. So if you truly believe in yourself and do think that you're built for something else, then give it a shot. You know what I mean? Why not? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you feel anyway, at least you took a chance. I mean, who was it that says feel? At least was it Phil Darrenly? Who was the quote? I cannot remember, but it's amazing.
Oh
And
man, yeah.
I
There's quite a lot of which funny you should mention that actually. There's quite a lot of motivational quotes obviously on Instagram. You see hundreds of them a day, and like a lot of them, the ones that kind of get me are the ones that talk about failure. Like it's so easy in this day and age to fail at something, whether it's fail at a business or lose a fight, lose a job, lose a relationship or whatever, and like it's so easy to get wrapped up in the negativity around it, um, rather than looking and going, right, okay, that's happened again. Like yourself, it's in the past. Can't do anything about it. Learn from it and make sure that doesn't happen again. Like, and I suppose that ties into what you were saying there about sort of once you've had a fight, you move on, and then it's the next camp, and then you focus on this guy and you focus on the things that you did right in your last match and wrong, and you learn from it. And as each fight goes on, whether that is a fight with Bellator for you, whether it's the stress of going for a promotion or something at work or whatever, like learning from what you've done right and wrong in the past, like for me, that's the key. Like, would you agree with that? Would you say that learning from your mistakes is important?
For sure. Obviously, it's unfortunate as it is. Like, obviously, a failure is how you learn and how you get better. It's the same
Yeah.
same is to refer back to fighting. It's the same way. You have a fight and you win, but you're not really. I mean, it's good. Obviously, winning's awesome and everyone wants to win, but you do learn more from your losses, and it's a true thing. If you win a fight, so say you go in for an instance and you go in and you knock somebody out or you submit them straight away, you're not taking anything back from that fight other than the fact that you're just progressing on. Whereas if you go in, you have a hard fight with somebody, see you keep getting taken down with something that's counteracting something, you go back to the gym. Right, how was I getting taken down with this? Right, so this is what I need to do to defend against that. Say, for instance, my fight there, I got taken down off a double leg when I threw a kick. I was on my back. I had
Right.
butterfly guard, and I truly believe I would grapple with James. I feel like if I have the fight again, I would grapple with him for sure. And instead, I kicked his hips off, and I thought I had more space to do a technical stand up. I did a technical stand up. He was half on my back, and I had options I could have done there. I could have tried to stay on my feet to defend the hands there, and instead I went to the ground and tried to break the grips from there. And that's what led to him getting me back and getting a body triangle, which is a hard position to get out of, which eventually led
Yeah.
to the submission, which is. It's just a game of chess, as I say, I grapple every single day, and these are positions that I'm in, day out, you know what I mean? And these are things in a fight, you go off reactions, and obviously I reacted wrong there. So that's something you take away, go back to the gym, right? What did I do wrong there? What can I do better? Going ahead, what am I going to do better? And as I say, in a loss, you learn more from it, and I've took something from that. Same as when I lost for the world title, South Africa. I had a horrible cut there. Couldn't cut weight properly. There was a water shortage in South Africa, so there was no hot baths or saunas, so I had to work all the weight off. And I went into the fight absolutely drained, exhausted, and I got my head kicked in for pretty much 5 minute rounds, and
Yeah.
constantly got up though, constantly scrambled, always and stayed safe, always did what I could to stay in the fight. I was never out of the fight. It was just I was getting ground out, so I took a lot from that. In the loss, I knew I needed to get a nutritionist on board, and which I did from there, and then the rest is history. And I've had amazing cuts since then. So you always take something from a loss. It's the same in work, same as in the call center, as you see. You know, have a failure, have a bad day, someone talks to you like shit, it can put you in a certain mood to make you, it can spoil your whole week. And if obviously if you let that come into your mind and change your thought process, then it is going to control you. And if you know what I mean, if you can brush it off and you can just think, right, well, what's my goals or what's my ambitions or what's my targets, right? That one person's comment, get that out my head, you know what I mean, and straight back onto what I want to do. You know, it's the same as me. I mean, if I could have showed some people some of the messages I got the morning after losing that fight, they wouldn't have believed it. The amount of people, I mean, didn't get us wrong, I had amazing support and loads of lovely messages, but as I said before, for every 100 of them, I had 10 absolutely disgusting ones, horrible stuff, saying horrible stuff. Oh, horrible stuff. I've had it before when I've lost as well. People just bitter, jealous people. You know, oh, you shit, you need to quit. Oh, you've lost to this and that. You taking a nap and whatever, you know, just saying all sorts of mad stuff, showing us their betting slips that they'd bet money on. I had one person saying that they'd lost their rent because of us, and I was shit, and you know, just stuff like that. And it's like, people haven't got a clue, you know what I mean? Just and it's like whatever, man, you know. And obviously seeing like even people who's my friends, you know, some of them showing us their betting slips, what they'd lost money on us, and telling us how much they'd thingy. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, you're not bothered about me. You're not bothered about me winning. You're bothered about the fact that you never won money and that it cost you money. You know, you wouldn't, if you were bothered about me, you would think about my feelings and take that into consideration before even doing that. You know, and it's stuff like that you've got to just prepare for and tell yourself that that's a possibility. I do the same thing before a fight. I tell myself there's a possibility that I'm going to get knocked out. There's a possibility that I'm going to get submitted. It's just you've got to take that on board, right? How am I going to deal with that, right? This is what I'm going to do. I believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to implement this so this doesn't happen, and you give it your best shot. It's the same in work, you know, on the phones, whatever. You've got to accept the fact that people are going to be dicks to you and they are going to say certain things to you. It's just human nature, you know. Some people just act before they think, and it's about how to deal with getting over that and moving forward against it. You know what I mean?
You mentioned a word before, which I really like when people focus on this, but you mentioned legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Say, for example, we're having this conversation in 10, 15, 20 years' time. You've gloves are well and truly hung up now, and you know kids are up and whatnot. What would you, if you could write your own career sort of summary? Where would it end? What would be the pinnacle, or what would you like the pinnacle to be for your career?
I'd love the pinnacle for me of my career to see that. I mean, don't get us wrong, love to fight for another world title. You know, if I would fight for the Bellator title in my career, that would be amazing, especially from being from here. You know, it's not something that anyone's done from Sunderland, you know, in a world class, like obviously Bellator, UFC, fighting for the title would be amazing. I mean, if I'd have beat James there, I was probably only one more win away from fighting for the belt. So I know there's a route there to doing it. So I could say that would be an amazing thing. But I just want to be known as someone in my legacy who fought all over the world. You know, there's places on my list. I want to fight in New York. I want to fight in Japan. I want to fight Russia if I could, Brazil, all these places. And I just want to have took the hardest fight. And when it's all said and done, to be someone who people can see, you know what, like, he's from here and he actually really had a go of it, you know, win or loss, he just went and did it. And I just want to be, I want to be, I want to be a world-known MMA name, you know, like that's what I see. I see fighters from all over the world, and I want to be recognized for that. I want to be recognized as a martial artist, not just a fighter, as a martial artist who was just someone who just worked hard, and same as Bisping, you know, just someone who took chances and truly worked hard and believed in himself, and that's all I want. I just want a legacy is that as a hard worker and a fighter who took chances, and that's what I want to be known as. Definitely, that's the legacy I want, just to have the toughest fights and to have some good names on my record when it's all said and done. I mean, I believe I've got a good, and I mean, I'm only 29 now. I'd say another 6 solid years of fighting the best people available. So why not fight them all and try and do what I can, you know, until it's all said and done. And then I would love to step into the coaching side, maybe, for instance, or even just do what I did before and do some kids classes or something like that, and just get all these experiences to help other people and learn from them, and just to be able to share my experiences and what I've learned through just me putting myself on the kind of platform to do it. So that's what I want, just to share my experiences when it's all said and done.
Well, we'll get a date in the diary for about 10 years, and we'll have another conversation, and we'll see how your prediction worked out.
Hopefully it's right.
Listen, Carl, listen, mate, I really, really appreciate your time. I'm sure we could have gone into far more stories, and I think, honestly, I said this the other day. I think you need to launch your own podcast, because some of the stories that you shared with me and Nathan the other day, I think would appeal to a lot of MMA enthusiasts, but a lot of, as you say, martial arts, all the various disciplines of MMA, but also people from Sunderland who want to hear stories about a guy from Sunderland who has travelled the world, and you know what I mean. It's like it's. I definitely think you should do it. And as I say, you've got my help and you've got my support, mate. Because I think certainly it's a podcast that I would listen to. So we'll have to have a few more conversations about that. But listen, mate, thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it.
Anytime, Phil, mate. We'll get a coffee and we'll get one set up and we'll start working out.
Yes,
to do it, mate, for sure.
Sounds like a plan, mate. Well, listen, mate, thank you very much for your time, mate. I'll catch up with you in a bit, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, brother. Thank you, Phil, mate. Cheers, mate.
Take care, mate.